The WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view has just finished with some incredibly emotional scenes at the end. But we are here to run through what happened at the entire show, so we will get to the Roman Sami stuff, we promise. But the first match of the night was the Women's Elimination Chamber match. So, basically, this went down. Liv and Natalya were the first people to get started, and then Raquel Rodriguez came out, and then Nikki Cross came out. There was a good bit where Nikki Cross just did a crazy crossbody off the top to the kind of outside of the ring on top of absolutely everybody. And then Carmella came out, and she kind of hid in her pod a little bit, and then Rodriguez kind of ran Nikki Cross through the pod into the Carmella pod, and then the camera completely missed Raquel Rodriguez pinning Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
But that was the first elimination. And then, obviously, we're in Canada, so Natalya's going to get the sharpshooter out. She got it on Liv. It was in there for ages, and she was desperately trying to get out, but she couldn't get out because Asuka came in and kind of joined in and started grabbing her, and then Liv Morgan kind of passed out in the sort of double submission kind of thing. And then Asuka and Carmella were just absolutely kicking the ever-loving crap out of Raquel Rodriguez, like just tennising her backwards and forwards amongst themselves, knocking the tree down until she was eventually down on the floor, and that was the end of that. And then Asuka got Carmella in the armbar to win the match overall. So Asuka is heading into WrestleMania to face Bianca Belair. But what did you think of this match?
Kind of loved it, actually. It didn't outstay its welcome, which these Elimination Chambers always threaten to because of that staggered start for everybody. Yep. Once everybody was in, the eliminations, at least sort of through the live experience, felt like they were going through at a nice clip, at a nice pace. Protect is a really ugly word in pro wrestling because for years it meant 50-50 booking, it meant non-committal finishes, and unfortunately we've got one of them coming up. But that was not on display here. This was simply a case of very convincing ways in which people were getting beat in a scenario where 5 people have to, ultimately. Liv Morgan, your mileage may vary on she likes the pain. However, in terms of a way to submit, even if they weren't doing the smiling, the Joker baby type thing, 2 submissions at once is a hell of a way to go.
Yep.
Similarly, the Raquel Rodriguez, you say, just volleying her head back and forth. Not only made for a tremendous visual, but kind of put over Carmella ahead of her getting beat by Asuka. So there wasn't a single elimination wasted here. And like I say, I was just quite impressed.
Maybe Nikki Cross.
Maybe Nikki Cross, yeah. But like, just in terms of the way the match was paced and laid out, I kind of can't really find any flaws with it. And the first sharpshooter as well got an absolutely enormous response, as you would expect in Canada, to the point where by the time she was slapping on the second one, a guy on Asuka, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The fans could root against that because they'd already had a nice moment. So I thought there was a few details like that I quite appreciated as well.
Absolutely. We had the bit with Liv Morgan jumping off the top of the pod to do a like sunset flip powerbomb onto Raquel Rodriguez as well. That looked like it was about to go hideously wrong. Yeah. But they saved it halfway through and actually managed to make it look absolutely incredible at the end. Like everyone got a nice little bit in it, and like you say, the kind of protection of everybody seemed to be a theme of the night for the chamber matches, at least, because they definitely carried that one through to the men's as well.
Not that, as we've seen countless times over the years, not the easiest thing for everyone to get shine, but I think they managed that in both chambers here.
Yeah, absolutely. But the second match of the night was Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, and they didn't quite manage the same thing in this, I don't think. This was a weird one, because I think we were expecting just like a short match, but like a fun, hard-hitting, big, sweaty men hitting man meat kind of deal. And
I mean, we got that at the very end. They were both sweaty and he hit man meat.
Yeah, but the entire match was like 7 moves or something. Brock Lesnar hit a belly-to-belly suplex, and then there was like 2 F5s, 2 spears, kickouts from both of those, obviously. And then Bobby Lashley got Brock Lesnar in the Hurt Lock, and Brock Lesnar really obviously low-blowed him and then got DQ'd, of all things, which was a finish that I don't think anybody had on their list of things that might have come out of this match. Maybe he was just really desperate to get out of the Bray Wyatt match at WrestleMania, who knows. But at the end of that as well, he kind of F5'd Bobby Lashley through the announce table, and then he F5'd the referee like onto the pile of the announce table. I don't know what they were going for with this.
No, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar feels like one of them stories that is destined to always be better on paper than it is in practice. That's 3 matches now where WWE haven't really wanted to commit to a conclusive finish, even though they presented it as if it's this trilogy that needed to be capped off, you know?
Yep.
At no point have we been allowed to have one man just be a little bit more distinctive than the other by virtue of a win. And we got that again here. Yeah, Bobby Lashley getting the victory, but by DQ, and ending the night flat on his back through a table. nothing good to say about this. And the fans booed it out of the building as well. This was one of those finishes where, WWE or Triple H or whomever can spin this as something else, but fans in the building knew what it was, and you kind of sense that everybody watching it at home would too. You joke about this Bray Wyatt thing, but nobody saw that hook being dropped on SmackDown when he did. Bray Wyatt challenging the winner of one of these two men was not on anyone's WrestleMania bingo card, and yet now it might be on neither. Brock and Bobby versus Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt? I don't know. But the one thing I don't want is Brock and Bobby Lashley one more time. Yeah. And if this was an effort to delay that, I think it's been a gross misfire because you just felt people's patience running out with this pairing by the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It just felt like a nobody wins situation in a match where you really, you probably should have had someone win. It really should have been, really easy this as well, which makes it even more
Commit
egregious.
to one and go with it.
And that's it. But anyway, it is what it is. Let us know in the comments below what you think of it and where it's going to lead with the Uncle Howdy, Bray Wyatt stuff. Who the hell knows? But next up, it was the Grit couple, Edge and Beth Phoenix versus the Judgment Day. I'm just going to let you take this one because we all know your feelings on the Judgment Day.
I appreciate that, Phil, because I'm in the flipping Judgment Day.
Really glad you censored yourself.
Yeah, it's really late.
It's really late.
You press the edit buttons. This was a quality piece of business. IMO. I'm not so sure if this is everyone. I'm not sure if this is biased through the watching on the stream where we kind of there's a bar.
It elevates things. It
absolutely, euphoria looms in the air when we're doing these things, along with all the sort of fizzy pop we're consuming at the same time. But this was just a tremendous piece of popcorn. Storyline driven stuff where you had Beth Phoenix obviously and Rhea Ripley finally they've been in this collision course, I guess, in people's minds, and we were getting to see this made real, and it was really strong stuff. There was loads of profile put on the women here. There were spots such as a double, the Tower of Doom traditionally. In this case, it was Tower of Dooms because they parted ways to powerbomb their respective partners, Finn Balor and Edge. And when it wasn't about Rhea and Beth, it was very much about Dominic Mysterio, because of course it was. The guy is over like Rover. He's presumably heading into WrestleMania against his deadbeat dad, Rey Mysterio. Ever heard of him? And there was at least twice here where fans were booing him out of the building, where he returned, where he tried to get back in amongst it in the mix. Just heat out the ass for absolutely everything. Finn Balor continued to live his best life with an awesome spot where he actually one of three, in fact, major revival / FTR callbacks in this. Yeah. Going under the ring to cut off a hot tag before doing a flex after the fact. The second FTR was where, if you remember the Toronto finish where Dax and Cash are reaching on, please don't tap. In this case, that was broken up by Dominic Mysterio sliding brass knuckles to Rhea Ripley to be able to break things up.
I like the side note of this as well, that it wasn't both of them grabbing each other to not tap. It was Rhea grabbing Finn to not tap.
Don't you dare
Very much shouting in his face, don't tap. Don't you dare tap.
So Dominic gives the knuckles, there breaks that up, it all breaks down again. And then the final and perhaps most definitive FTR / revival tease was Edge and Beth Phoenix winning, not with a spear, not with a gland slam, but with the big rig, as called the Shatter Machine by WWE commentators, of course, as it was known in WWE. So could be something, could be nothing, but in the week where Dax and Edge's names were in stories together, that was an added and unexpected wrinkle from what was otherwise just a really fun tag. I don't know if Edge and Finn Balor is on the docket for WrestleMania anymore. I'm not against it if it is, but I feel satiated if this is the end of Edge and the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I think both of us went into this expecting the Judgment Day to win, to heat up Rhea on the way to WrestleMania. Yeah. But the way it finished as well, and just the fun they were having in this match. They all had a ball in this match. It felt like an ending. It felt like a finish to this, which is probably a good thing. Because, let's face it, it's gone on quite a while, and we could probably move on from this now. But yeah, it felt kind of definitive. I don't think we need an Edge versus Finn Balor thing coming from this at all.
Balor's deadpan, I hate you, as he was being carried out, might be there to linger, but it might just been played for comedy as well.
Exactly, yeah, I'm fine with it. But yeah, like we say, all of these guys and gals had the best time, and you can see it on their faces all the way through. Yeah. Really, really good, fun stuff. Highly recommend it. So next up was the Men's Elimination Chamber match. Now this was for the United States Championship, obviously. So it started out, it was Gargano and Rollins that started out the match, and then Austin Theory was the next one that came in. There was a good bit when Rollins and Gargano kind of trapped Austin Theory inside his own pod, and then they shut the doors behind him, so they were both in there, and they just kind of looked at each other and yep, and then they just started beating the crap out of him in his own pod, which is quite entertaining. So Damian Priest was the next one out, and then Bronson Reed, and then finally, obviously, Montez Ford was the last one, who... I don't know what he was up to last night, but he went on a bit of a tear doing suck it to everyone over and over and over again, like just constantly sucking it. He tried to hit a people's elbow at one point, which was broken up.
Frantically untaping his wrists.
Yeah, which was absolutely fantastic. But it ended up with Bronson Reed interrupting the people's elbow and then getting poison Rana'd by a kind of combination as Johnny Gargano and Seth Rollins kind of hitting the clothesline onto Gargano, who then went into the Poison Rana. And then Montez Ford had a great bit where he climbed up to the top of the cage on the outside, kind of lifted himself up and did like a little flip down to land onto everyone else, which was really, really good fun. But then Bronson Reed got hit with the final beat from Johnny Gargano, the curb stomp from Seth Rollins, the frog splash from Montez Ford, and Montez Ford pinned him to get Bronson Reed out. Like we say, protecting people on their way out of these matches. Then there was a bit when Seth Rollins and Gargano, because they'd kind of been teaming up a lot throughout this match, they were on top of one of the pods, and then Seth Rollins was just like, nope, not anymore, chopped, and then they started fighting on top of the pods, and then Gargano kind of did, like, it looked like Seth was gonna, like, powerbomb him off the top of the pod, but he, like, reversed it into a Hurricane Rana that went down onto everyone that looked absolutely amazing. Awesome. But then, unfortunately, Johnny Gargano, he got razor's edged. Yeah, that'll work. Into the middle of the ring, and he went out. And then Rollins and Montez Ford took out Priest with a kind of blockbuster powerbomb dealio. But then Montez Ford got kind of curb stomped on the outside, like between the ropes to the
619 position, outside. Wasn't it? That hard mat,
in a kind of vicious fashion, and he went out, and like Austin Theory kind of stole the pin for that one. But then after that one, like they kind of sold it quite a lot. Like he was a bit injured, and people started coming in and checking up on him, and lifted him up and carried him out to a great ovation from the crowd. But this was all a work, baby, because that was just a tease to let someone into the cage, and that someone was Logan Paul, who flew in with a buckshot lariat, took out Seth Rollins. But that wasn't all he was about to do. He curb stomped Seth Rollins as well, and then he went back outside, he shut the door, Austin Theory, got the A-Town down on Seth Rollins at the end of it for the 1-2-3. Austin Theory is still your United States champion. Again, people being protected, setting up the Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul match at WrestleMania. There's going to come a lot coming out of this.
Yeah, not too many complaints. Like, went as predicted, I think, but that's not always such a bad thing. Austin Theory's clearly got a direction with John Cena at WrestleMania, as does now Seth Rollins with Logan Paul. Yep. These were all things that were, seeded, I would say, at some point between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble, and now we're getting to see those seeds blossom. Yeah. In terms of the Montez Ford spot, I was really impressed that they not only gave him a showcase night, but came up with like a justifiable reason to have his exit feed into Logan Paul's entry. I appreciate just that extra layer of thought going into it. And now Ford being potentially injured or carrying the scars of his war could impact what goes on with Street Profits, which is something to watch as well. Gargano and Priest and Bronson Reed had, I would classify as strong enough showings, even if there was less in the way of character development. Yeah. They were there in the way that, like, not that I'm saying they were just easily replaceable, but those were the three positions that could have been lifted out and given to somebody else, and they would have just slotted in. It was very much story-wise about the other three, but they certainly held up their end of the bargain. Very, very physical, very, very, like, this wasn't a risk-averse Elimination Chamber just because we'd had high spots in the first one. They were still willing to go for it. It's that usual challenge. What if one match kind of undercuts the other one? Or, we have this now with, like, Rumbles and Money in the Banks. How did WWE work around it? And I thought they did a pretty effective job of it here. Yeah,
absolutely. And like you say, again, like protecting everyone, like Bronson Reed, it took everybody to get him out, and he's been on a sort of tear of squash matches. It was a kind of case of, how are they going to keep him strong coming out of this? I think they've done that. Montez Ford has done a great showing for himself coming from this. And Gargano, they just need to give Johnny Gargano more. I'm just going to say it right here.
He had a good night, and he's needed one for a while.
He had a good night, but give him some more. But anyway, the main event, the match that we all came to see. Roman Reigns came out first, which was a little bit of a shock to the crowd, I think, as well as everybody else. Yeah. Obviously took his sweet-ass time getting down to the ring before just Sami Zayn and his new music and the crowd going absolutely mad. There was two great bits. It's all about the crowd reactions for this entire match. There was a bit where the crowd drowned out Roman Reigns' music because of how much they were booing him, and then there was another bit where the crowd drowned out Sami Zayn's music because they were cheering for him so goddamn loud and singing his music. And then it was just they had such a simple match, but it was everything it needed to be, and it got the crowd on every single move. Sami Zayn was popping that crowd with double axe handles from the top. I think the biggest thing you can say about this match. And then there was just melodrama after melodrama. It got all the Usos involved. But yeah, it was everything that we thought it was going to be, really. Yeah,
this was, as predicted, the spiritual sequel to CM Punk versus John Cena from Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
But I would also kind of tack on to that something of a sequel to Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre from Clash at the Castle. Just a more heated and story-driven version of that. As you say, it wasn't about what they were doing specifically. It was about like the how and the whys and the whens, which is, what every wrestler worth their salt tells you is what it's all about anyway.
Yeah.
The interaction with the crowd here was sublime. There was a point where we kind of identified while watching that Sami Zayn's big offensive move at one point was an axe handle from the top, in which he landed safely on his feet for a 2 count and all that. The fans came unglued, because of course they did. Roman worked to the floor in a segment that I feel is going to be divisive, but we'll see, where he's talking to Sami's wife about how he didn't want to have to fight him. He was going to feed her as much as he was going to feed Sami. He was going to bring the families together.
I love you all.
I really love that, but I understand that like context is king for me there. I think when it happens within the context of a storyline that makes sense, great. Sometimes Roman overdoes it. I thought that came across really, really well. And then, of course, the breakdown of everything at the end with the Usos. Jimmy comes in, fully committed to the cause, does his best to try and win the match for Roman, while one referee is disposed of. When a second referee follows Jimmy, a little bit too quick, actually, in to make a 2 count, and Sami keeps fighting through. He is then taken out as well. This was interesting. There appeared to be a slight miscommunication where Roman was supposed to Superman punch the referee. In resetting that spot, they basically worked yet more dramatic heat stuff, just showing you how much story this can give out to the wrestlers when they need to improvise something. And it was when the second referee went down that Jey Uso finally made his mark, made his appearance. He stood, put himself in between Roman and Sami with a steel chair, just as Sami had done with Kevin at last month's Royal Rumble. Roman, just as he'd done at the Royal Rumble, held out the chair for Jey to take it. Jey couldn't do it. Everybody hesitated. Just like the Royal Rumble, Roman began pie-facing Jey Uso. And then, of course, Sami goes to help Jey when it looks like, he's going to get attacked by Roman. Roman slides out the way. Sami spears Jey Uso, I think it was. Jey Uso is then pretty much indisposed. And then Roman, chair in hand, goes Steve Austin rock on Sami Zayn with that steel chair. Shot after shot after shot after shot. Sami is jelly. He's left prone. He's eventually beaten with, was it one last spear? One last Superman punch? As one of the original referees slides back in. So we get, I would say, the fairly predictable development of Jey Uso being a key figure in all this, but they have not committed to Jey Uso. He didn't choose Roman, and by not choosing Roman, it kind of felt like he was choosing Sami. Will that be knocked sideways by the spear? Will that be Jimmy now using that spear as a way to drive the wedge between the two? Yeah,
it's all out there. It was pure melodrama. Mm-hmm. It was almost more about what they didn't do than what they did do in this match. As well, like the sort of build for Sami Zayn, like he still felt uneasy about his position at the beginning of the match, but then as it went through, like you could feel the confidence building inside of him, and his offense started getting like stiffer and stronger, and like you could feel that build as it went across until the inevitable massive melodrama at the end. But yeah, Sami went down. Roman Reigns is still your undisputed WWE Universal Champion, but that wasn't all, because just as they were about to beat him down at the end of the match, out comes Kevin Owens to obviously thunderous applause. He comes out, he saves Sami Zayn, he attacks Jey Uso, he does the pop-up powerbomb through the announce table onto Jimmy Uso, and then he's about to go after Roman Reigns, but he manages to sort of get out of there, doesn't he?
Yeah, Roman Reigns backs into a corner. Sami is in the other corner.
Oh yes, of course, that was what happened.
Kevin spies that, and he sort of backs off and allows Sami to hit the Helluva Kick. And they don't, which a lot of people predicted, they don't hug. They don't shake hands. They
don't even really acknowledge each other. There's a slight look, but Kevin Owens is quick to get out of there just like, this is you.
I think that was like, potentially an attempt to stop any of the criticisms of, Sam, he could have helped him during the match. They are not yet back whole. Maybe Kevin will see this as, even in the score from the Royal Rumble. Sami, you stood up for me, so I'm going to stand up for you, but we're not best mates. But there's 42 days for them to become best mates in time for WrestleMania, which feels like that's where they're going to go.
Exactly, yeah. And the whole thing, we knew this was where it was going to go. Probably, like, deep down inside, there was hopes for many other things. But this was the most logical way it was going to go. And again, leaving those little seeds of doubt in everything. There's sort of Jey Uso, he didn't actually pick Roman, but then Sami Zayn did hit him with a spear. The Kevin Owens thing, they're not fully friends yet, but they definitely can be down the line. There is still plenty of story beats here to keep you watching through to WrestleMania. And it's just, it's just as good as this whole thing has been. It's just a continuation of that. It's just... God, beautiful stuff. Mwah. And the crowd, they were into absolutely every piece of it.
Montreal, you nailed it yet again. 2 nights in a row for SmackDown and for this premium live event.
Yeah. Ottawa, you've got a lot to live up to for...
And a bit of breaking news. For the press just before we started recording. The first thing you got to look forward to in Ottawa is Edge versus Austin Theory, do you believe, in the United States Open Challenge. So, I mean, if you can't come up for that...
But that is the Elimination Chamber 2023. What went down? Thank you very much for joining us. If you want, you can follow us over on Twitter. You can follow me at Fill My Chambers, and you can follow Michael
at Michael Hamflet.
And you can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. What else? I don't know. Watch more videos. It's YouTube. That's what it likes to do. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good night at this point. It's late.
It's really late.